We have a great guest today that we're excited to talk to, Coach Wardlaw from Forney High School in Texas, offensive line coach. But much deeper than that. Really dives into everything from podcasts into the day in the life of what it's like to be a football coach. It's a guy who not just is a football coach, but who has his hands in a lot of things to keep himself entertained. Obviously was a fantastic football player himself in college. Moved down to Texas to soak up the whole entire atmosphere and become part of that as a football coach and the opportunities there at the high school level. So we can't thank you enough, Coach, for coming on today. Welcome to the podcast.
No, I appreciate you guys having me. I was just trying to make sure I got everything set up in time and took it all out right before we started recording. So I'm glad I got for all the crap I get involved in, like it's still technology's like, it doesn't want to cooperate. Like, it's great when it works, but like, no doubt it'll act a fool at the most inopportune time. But no, I appreciate you guys having me.
Always.
No doubt.
That's always how it works. No doubt. There is no doubt.
So give me a kind of a journey of like your whole background in football and sports, and take us up to today, including, what made you kind of dive into the podcasting world and all that kind of stuff. So talk a little bit about that.
Okay, yeah. So I am from a small town in South Carolina. We were 2A school when I was growing up and stuff, and 900 students probably total. I think the football team, we just had JV, just had varsity, and all together we might have had like 50, 60 football players, something like that. And just small town America. So you grow up playing like every sport. You had your hand in a little bit of everything, baseball and stuff all through rec leagues and all that. It wasn't like today where you got to be on a select team for however many years to get the skills you need just to make your high school team. And there's still places out there where it's kind of like that, but definitely where I'm at now, at such a large school. And it's just odd. I don't know. It's just crazy how you've got to invest early on just to have the skills necessary to maybe have a shot at making your team. But anyway, so grew up really just.
We definitely want to dive into that, by the way.
All right.
Mental note on that one.
All right. So growing up, just stuck with football kind of once I got established in high school. I kind of realized, this is what I really care to do, with my time. And so just year round, we had a good strength and conditioning coach when I was in high school that was already introducing the off-season programs and stuff, but it was a little different out there. You might have a weightlifting class like in your high school day, but it's definitely not like where I'm at now, where it's a football class and it is your football team. It was kind of just an all sports weightlifting, but because of my mom was a guidance counselor, and so she's always wanted to make sure my class rank was right and GPA was right. So after my freshman year, I wasn't able to take the weightlifting class because it would bring my GPA down. So I always had to go do my stuff on my own time, like after school and all that, which was great because we had coaches that would, hang around and make sure guys just like me got to get our lifts in too. But I just always thought there was something special about football and how you're basically representing your town, your school on the biggest stage. A lot of schools, athletics are the gateway, the front porch to people knowing about that school. And so, you want to try to do right by them. And we were able to always be a pretty solid team. Whenever I was in high school, we had one good year. We were able to go a few rounds deep in the playoffs, but we were an old school wing tee football team full of just dudes that looked just like me. We had offensive linemen playing linebacker and, just fast twitch wasn't our friend, but just a lot of great experiences and stuff. And again, it was a small town. So everybody knew everybody's cousins and all this, that, and the other. And I don't know. I just always had a really positive experience with school and just noticing or being able to connect with so many different people from different walks of life. And so I realized like this might be something I would want to make a career out of whenever I get done with college and all that. And went to Presbyterian College kind of on. It came down to I was going to go to Florida and do aerospace engineering. I'd gotten accepted and all that. Or I was going to go to Clemson and do mechanical engineering. Had already gotten accepted. They were going to waive my tuition and all that because, again, my mom made sure I was GPA farming and I had all that stuff taken care of. And then kind of the last second, I got the chance to go play football at Presbyterian. They had just made the jump up to FCS not long before that. Joined there, redshirted my first year. and just made some of the best friends that a guy could make. Just you and the boys in the locker room, all 120 of us were. And it was the biggest team I had ever been a part of at that point, not just because it was college, but just from a numbers-wise perspective, and then just logistically what the schedules look like throughout the day and what your training camp schedule looks like and stuff. It was definitely like taken up a notch from what my experience was in high school. But again, it was a positive experience. It was probably really good that I had such a pretty strict schedule, because as I've kind of gotten a little more time here and there, as I've gotten into my career and stuff, I realized if I don't have something to do, like I just start to invent things to do. And I don't know, maybe a touch I got of something, but I got to always make sure my time's occupied. And it definitely is these days, but we can get into that here in a little bit. But graduated from college, had a lot of great experiences from there. I met my wife. We had our first child when we were young, and we were finishing up school and stuff. So by my senior year, we'd already gotten married, had my daughter, and I had stopped playing, and I was working for the football team in like a work study type role, but we didn't have GAs. So I was like the GA plus the extra hands. We had just a few of us. You got to wear a lot of hats. And I can just remember we'd be at Northern Illinois having to set up our headsets, and then 2 seconds later, I got to be running down to make sure the balls get to the referees. And then I got to make sure that, I've got all my stuff together, because during the game, I'm on the headset with the offensive line coach talking about what fronts, the defense is giving us and stuff. So you're just wearing a ton of hats. But it really was a lot of good skills in a lot of different areas that I was able to carry on. But just learning the scheduling stuff and all that really helped me for when I did finally get into coaching and teaching. My first job coming out of college was at Belton Honeypath High School, which they were a 3A, 4A at the time. They've always been kind of a borderline team, but traditional powerhouse. They were our rivals, when I was in high school, and we'd always get our brains beat in. I think we beat them my freshman year, and it was like the world stopped. People were burning couches on the highway back. Like everybody's having a great old time, because they were a powerhouse. And so whenever I went and got my first job there, it was kind of like, man, it's different now to be at a school where like the expectations, like if you don't perform at a certain level, like you're starting to now feel a little heat and stuff.
Buddy.
So it was good to see that side of it. So I've always been I've never been on a true juggernaut program until that point.
You're getting there. You're getting there now. I'll tell you that, bud. Yeah.
And then so I did 4 years out there, kind of just got my foot in as like a secondary coach, an assistant secondary coach, and I'd always played linebacker and stuff. So it was new for me to kind of learn a lot more about coverages and getting everything on the back end lined up to different formations and all that. We had some good runs there from the 4 years I was there. And then COVID hits and the world kind of stops, and we're teaching and doing everything virtually. And I'd always had the idea of maybe making the move out to Texas. My wife's parents have since moved out this way. And so we were like, it'd be nice to kind of get closer to them and stuff. And then you always hear high school football in Texas, just a different animal. So I was like, I want to kind of, see what this looks like at the highest level possible. So during COVID, everything shut down, right? So I guess some of the schools out here were more willing to do Zoom interviews with people that weren't necessarily from Texas or from the area. And so I got a Zoom interview with a middle school out there, and it went well, and they offered me the job and stuff. But one thing I didn't take into account was out here, for the most part, especially at the larger schools, like you have to be a teacher at the campus that you're coaching at. That was something that in South Carolina,
I didn't know that.
A requirement. Yeah, like I can remember when
I didn't know that until I met you. I didn't know that was the thing until you had brought it up on a podcast a couple times, and I had heard it. And there are districts now, and I don't want to cut you off, but
no,
just
you're good,
a side note, like there are districts now in New Jersey that recently have it just got word approved that if you teach in this certain district, you cannot go and coach in, say, a neighboring district or somewhere else, because that's just right. It's I mean, it's how you kind of keep really good coaches.
I think that's how you lose.
Obviously,
it keeps coaches. It keeps coaches. I think in committed to the system that you're in, as long as they're there, right? Versus, I'm coaching softball over here, I'm coaching football over here, and you're not committed to anything.
But I'm teaching here, but I'm running out of the building at the end of the day to get to practice because I got to drive, 20, 30 minutes or wherever.
It also forces the schools to commit. I think it forces the schools to commit to the development of those coaches too.
Yeah, I would agree.
Absolutely, 100%.
I think there's something special
Go ahead.
about like having your whole staff in the building and seeing your guys every single day. And yeah, it wasn't a foreign thing to. Yeah, I remember I taught middle school back in South Carolina with a guy, the history teacher that was in like 7th or 8th grade. I can't remember now, but he was one of the big baseball coaches at a high school like 20 minutes away. And so, like you said, like 3:15 when the school bell ends, like he's hightailing out there because he's coaching in a completely different school district. But it was just a way. I think it's special to keep everything in house. But so anyway, so I was like, whoa, that's kind of news to me. I was sitting here thinking like, if I can land the teaching job here, and then the next step I can kind of go and figure out. But anyway, so I get the job at this middle school in Texas, and so then I get put into contact with the head coach, the football coach at the high school down the street at Forney High, where I'm at now. And I'm like, look, I'm moving here from halfway across the country. I already know I'm resetting all of my network and all that. Like, all I'm asking is, do you need some free hands? Like, I'll volunteer. Because first of all, the teaching pay out here was already like a $15,000-$20,000 pay bump from what I was getting paid in South Carolina. So I was like, I mean, just the teaching money for me is a raise. So like, I'll coach football for free. Like, that's a given. And so he for sure, like,
right. It wasn't like a deal breaker of like, I need this coaching job to like survive because of numbers, right? Like the teaching already took care of that, which is unbelievable. For sure.
Yeah. And so, he was down for me joining in, told him, most of my experience was in linebackers and stuff. So he let me go and, kind of be the assistant linebackers coach, with what they had going on at the time. And, we're in the midst of all the COVID stuff going on too. So that was just a whole other whirlwind, but it was pretty interesting because, the previous head coach that I was volunteering for, he was a big mornings practice guy. And so I remember I would try to go get my little sweat in just to help me wake up in the morning. So I'm getting to the school at 5:00 on the dot because we got kids coming at 5:30 and they're going to get their morning lifts and meetings in. And then we're going to start practice I think our walkthrough started at like 6:40 or something like that. And then period one of practice started shortly after that. And then towards the tail end of practice, whenever it was time for me to zip down the street to get down to the middle school, I was a teacher at the time, so I had to teach a full day, and then I would zip back down they did their freshman practices in the afternoon. So I was kind of really burning the candle at both ends because I wasn't on paper. My contract didn't say teacher/coach, so I didn't have it built into my schedule. So I still had to do the full teaching load and all that, teach 4 or 5 classes a day, whatever the number was. But just really wanted to make myself irreplaceable. I showed them that, hey, I got some experience with camera setup and how to work huddle, and I've ran a film room before, and so I can have the whole JV defense in here, or if the varsity linebacker coach has got to get something going on, he's got to take care of something, like I can run this meeting room, and like I've had experience in the defense they were running, so I kind of speak their language and probably how they were teaching some things, just like plug and play. And so it was a good experience. And I guess I made a good enough impression that, unfortunately the head coach at the time got let go. We had a rough year. Some things were out of his control, and how it works out here, it's kind of nerve wracking it works a lot more like the college game. Like when the head guy's gone, you can almost assume that the OC, DC are gone, and you can almost assume that the majority of the position coaches are gone. Whereas like in South Carolina, there might be a change at the top with the head coach, but because of maybe
nobody else goes,
nobody else leaves, and unless they were just really ride or die for that guy. But a lot of people in small town America, they were going to be in that town no matter what, and just plug and play a new head coach, and they might do some reassignments within the staff, but you're going to have the same coaches. But so whenever he got let go, I'm sitting there like, crap, and I invested all this time, made these great connections, tried to prove my worth, and then now this guy's gone, and I have no clue who they're about to bring in. They hire our head coach who came in. I guess there was some good word of mouth about me. They're trying to fill out this new staff that they're putting together, and I guess there was some good word of mouth about me. And so he reaches out to me. He's like, hey, you want to come over and we do an interview? And so I meet him for the first time, and he had heard some good things about me, and he talked about like he just really respected that I was willing to move all this way to try to make a dream a reality, that I was willing to volunteer my time. And apparently I was, worth my weight and all that. And we talked about what their new schemes and stuff are going to be. I met with the defensive coordinators, now one of my best buds. We hit it off, and just the synergy was there. And so they hired me on to, kind of be another low man on the totem pole, but at least I was actually on a teacher and coach contract at this point. So I get the job
Right.
over at the high school teaching astronomy, which at the time I was like, that's kind of odd. Like, it's kind of random, but, let's do it. It wound up being awesome. Like, it's a blessing
It's awesome.
because it's somewhat interesting. I don't have to teach just dry curriculum stuff. I got some freedom with it and all that. And, but I was basically running the freshman defense that very first year. And just kind of like, let's see what this guy's got. Let's give him some responsibilities and stuff. And we were coming off a winless year during that COVID year because, again, it was COVID, all kinds of random stuff happening. But we knew we had some
you don't
talent.
got to tell us, buddy.
Yeah, we knew we had
You
some
don't gotta
talent in the
tell us.
pipeline. We just knew we had to get it all going in the right direction. And so we were able to make the playoffs that first year, going like 7-5 or something like that, and really beat some teams that we probably shouldn't, and really just kind of prove that we could get this going the right way, and we really got some buzz going and stuff. And just over the years, so after that first year, then I get made the varsity outside linebackers coach, and we got 16 coaches, and when you got 300 football players in your program, we all wear a lot of different hats anyway. And so I still, just because I always like to call defense, no matter what the level was, I really wanted to make sure I stayed in charge of the freshman defense because I got to get great experience with just scheduling out practices and installing things, and with the other guys that are tasked with their freshman duties. And it doesn't work how we do our JVs. It doesn't really work the same. JVs all practice together and stuff, and then they kind of, a lot of them serve as scout guys for the varsity, so they don't necessarily get like specifically dedicated time. And so I was like, I'm good with just, I'll obviously take on all the new stuff with being the varsity outside linebackers coach, but I'm really content with still keeping up with scheduling out the freshman practices and stuff because I'd like to be a coordinator one day. And so I want to continue to kind of sharpen my skills with that and all that. So, which they were fine with that too, because, those sub varsity spots, it's like, who's drawing the short end that's got a coach?
Nobody wants that, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So, they're always good with if somebody's wanting to volunteer to call the JV offense or whatever, like, yeah, buddy, that's all you. That's all you. So anyway.
Oh, yeah. Like, you got that. Like, no doubt.
Yeah. So it all kind of
went about it the exact same way.
Yeah. You just want to,
no doubt. Because
yeah, that was my whole goal, was just try to be irreplaceable. And I don't think I'm irreplaceable by any means, but I definitely think I have my hand in a lot of different things to where if we're listing out, like if for some reason half the staff couldn't go, like I want to try to make the cut for the staff that's got to go to make sure this game gets played and stuff. And for all the guys out there that listen that are coaches, that's one thing we try to talk about between me and my brother on our show is, because we get a lot of text or call-in stuff with guys who are trying to get into coaching on, and they're always like, how can I, get my foot in the door? How can I do this, that, and the other? And we're always like, you just got to be willing to wear a lot of hats and maybe eat some turd sandwiches. And, but you got to be the guy that's willing to do that stuff because you stand out, right? You kind of you earn that cachet for being a guy that's irreplaceable, a Swiss Army knife. But, and then it kind of took off from there. Like we made the playoffs that first year. We get into the second year, had another good 7-8 win season, made the playoffs again. So now it's like back, and that was jumping up division. Out here in Texas, we've got all the way up to 6A, right? But every division split. So you've got within 6A, Division I, Division II, within 5A, Division I, Division. So like from the first year, we jump up to 5A D1, keep the playoff streak going. So that was a great sign that even though we're moving up because of our enrollment and stuff, we're still holding our own against these bigger schools. And then that third year, we had kind of the Cinderella run. We made it to the state semifinals in 5A Division I. And then after that, we made the jump to 6A. So we were 6A Division II, and then scratched and clawed with a brand new team, basically scratched and clawed our way into the playoffs again, first year in 6A. And we were really that year, across our 5 losses, I think the point spread was only like 13 points. So give or take a possession in each game, and it could have been another double-digit win season our first year in 6A. And then this past year, our second year in 6A, had another good run, made it a few rounds deep. Had a chance to go to round 4, and it just didn't work out at the end. But yeah, it's been a great ride, and so now we're here. We just came out with a new realignment. We're going to 6A D1 now, so we're moving up to the top of the top in terms of school size out here. So yeah, we're going to try to scratch and claw and see what we can put together this year with another young team, another just a lot of new faces. I think we only returned about 4 or 5 starters from last year, so we got to earn that stipend this year to to make our trip back
no
to the
doubt.
dance. Yeah, that's kind of the journey so far, football wise. I mean, all the other stuff was just kind of happy accidents that happened along the way. All the social media stuff like that. With I guess the TikTok stuff blew up shortly after I got the job.
It's wild, man.
And that was all by accident.
It's wild.
It was. I would get home after 18
Coach, was your videos the one where I'm pretty sure I've seen a million of them, but where you're like, I'm coming into the weight room to get a quick workout. It's that's you, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Yeah. That's what I thought.
It was a happy accident. Like
your voice is the because originally I don't think you were behind the camera. Like you didn't show yourself all the time, or maybe briefly, but
yeah, it was
right?
it was never it was like a faceless kind of thing. Like because how it all started was my wife would I'd get home after a 18-hour day, and my wife's like,
she'd be like, "What'd you do today?"
Yeah, how do you spend 18 hours like just doing high school football? Like, how do 18 hours just fly by doing that? I'm like, so the next day I turn around.
Show you.
Yeah, I was being a smart tail the next day, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna show her what I do throughout this day. Like, and so I get home and I've got all these just little 5-second video clips of like, here's how we do. We got to do laundry after our morning practice, and then we got laundry after the afternoon practice. Well, then in between, we've got 5 football teams between the JV, freshman, varsity. We got 5 depth charts to keep track of, and scheduling practice anyway. So I just kind of put it all together, or I just kind of went through and we're swiping through, and I'm like, here's how I do this. Here's what I did here. And we sat there after we went through it all. We're kind of just chilling at night in the living room. And she was like, that was actually kind of interesting. Like, have you ever thought about like just piecing all that together? And so I kind of taught myself how to work like TikTok or whatever and put all the clips together and narrate my voice and stuff and put a little music on or whatever. And then I just go to bed, right? I wake up and I had like 1.5 million views or something crazy. And then I get to the school and all the kids had seen it like between the night or whatever. And they're like, Coach, did you see the Cardinals comment on your thing? Did you see Rydell commented on blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't even know what y'all talking about. Like, I'm just trying to like hit this shower before I go teach real quick. And just kind of do it from there. And so then it was like, if people enjoy watching, I guess I'll do another one. And then the next one's got, almost 1 million views or whatever. I'm like, I guess I'll just keep this going. And then 4 years later, 5 years later, however long it's been now, like they've done like little news stories out here and stuff. And it wasn't like I was setting out to I didn't get into coaching for this side of it. Like it just happened.
Right.
And, as long as people like to watch it, I was like, I don't mind doing it. It takes me 5 minutes and it just kind of goes crazy. But it's been a good way to display what we do in our line of work and the time we put in to try to help.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I was like,
to gain a level of respect.
Yeah, I kind of felt a calling because I feel like way too often people in education and coaching, maybe we get bashed on a little bit and stuff, or I don't know. I just feel like we're critiqued a lot. So I was like, let me try to put some kind of positive light out there about, I really like what I do. And I'm going to show y'all why I like what I do. And maybe I'm just wired a little different to enjoy spending this much time away from the house or whatever. But I don't know. It's just very rewarding. And it's been cool along the way, just hearing people that started watching my videos when I first did them, and now they're in coaching. Like I was out in Tyler for one of our last games of this past season, and I'm up there in the press box getting our stuff ready. I got my my analytics and stuff out, make sure doing mic tests on the hits and stuff. And the guy that's running the press box out there in Tyler, Texas, was like, "Hey, you do the videos, right?" He's like, "Dude, I was watching you my senior year of high school. I was like, I want to do this." He goes to Miami, Ohio, gets his degree and stuff, played a sport up there, so comes back to Texas because he's like, this is where I want to be. Like, and your videos kind of inspired me to do this. And now he's like running their athletic operations and stuff out there in Tyler and stuff like that. So I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, it just kind of came full circle that people that were maybe finishing up high school, not knowing what they want to do with their life, but knew they really enjoyed this, that, and the other. Now they're getting their hands in the fire a little bit in coaching and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's for me, it's kind of rewarding to be able to put that stuff out there and hopefully inspire some folks to join up, because I don't know about you guys, but the teaching shortage is real. The coaching shortage is getting more and more real. And I think it's a great line of work, a great calling. And so if I can do anything to kind of help, shed some positive light on that, I certainly don't mind doing it. So yeah, that's kind of how all that started. And it's just become its own beast. And obviously it inspired some other side projects along the way. couple of businesses I have now that are kind of fueled by that. And yeah, it's just,
how do you manage all that? So how do you're coaching football, you're well, you're coaching mostly football, a little bit teaching there,
yeah.
and then you're running like a podcast and a business on the side. What like how do you juggle
and coaching power,
and
powerlifting,
4 kids, right?
Right.
How do you juggle all that?
Yeah,
my
two
wife-
sports too, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you're a 2-sport guy too, and I don't care like if it's we all know football like takes a lot of time, but you're still a coach of another sport. You know what I'm saying? Like whether it's basketball for a couple of years or now powerlifting, which we've talked about this, like we don't even have it here in Jersey. And it's boys and girls, right? Like you're kind of wearing like there's just so many hats that you're doing. Like it's just unbelievable. And you see it in the videos, right? Like you talk about this to this to this. Oh, wait, and I got my son's flag football game too on the side, right? Like how do you manage all of that and at a very high level, by the way? You know what I mean? It's not like it's just some throwaway. Like this stuff matters. And you're running, you know, a spice company, for God's sakes, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just I don't watch a ton of TV. I mean, I'll watch football on Saturdays and Sundays, of course, Thursdays and all that when I can. But I don't know. I think it's just once I finally get still about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, I'm out. Like I'm not like I'm going without sleep or whatever. So because my kids ask me the same thing, my students and stuff. They're like, "Wait, you do that too? What, you do this too? Wait, how do you do?" I'm like, I don't know. I go to bed, I wake up, and then like from whenever I wake up to when I put my head down at night, like I feel like and it's, there's some days where it wears on you, right? Like with the vlog stuff, we get home there was one year we got home from a playoff game at 4 a.m. And the last
thing, right, because your traveling is on a different level.
Yeah, the last thing I wanted to do is take the 5 minutes and put the video together and narrate it and post it or whatever. But it's just, you just kind of get used to doing it. Like before I go to bed, I'm going to make sure I knock this out. The seasoning thing and the other business, the media business I have now or whatever, that's just great business partners that really help. With the seasoning side, I got a great buddy that he's a former football player and coach himself. He's into banking now. He got real smart, but he kind of handles all the headache side for me, like the books and all that kind of thing.
Right.
Make sure taxes get paid and all that. And so I just get the fun job, I guess, of trying to share it out and putting content out there and that kind of thing. And so it's just surrounding yourself with great people with the podcast and the media stuff. My brother helps me out a ton. Although he's about to get a lot more busy too, with his job.
Yes,
his
he is.
promotion he got, and he's getting married and stuff. So it is a lot. Like when you kind of stand, like especially this time of year where things kind of really slow down. We basically got this week off other than our kids' camp that we're putting on. But I sit there and I'm like, man, like if this was a random, what's today? Tuesday. If this was a random Tuesday in March, like I would be doing this. And like here I am, like just going and grabbing donuts for my kids and stuff. And I don't know. It's just really enjoyable. And football's done so much for me, and it's allowed me to be able to provide for my kids and be able to take care of my family unit. And so it's just some way that I want to try to stay in tune with the football side, but also branch out and continue to be as good a spokesperson as I can. And because it's dying in some areas, it's hurting in some areas around the country. Football is, whether it's in Florida where it's becoming more like college with transfer portals, and Georgia where they're getting NIL.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like the pure aspect of it is changing a lot. And so I just want to be, and it's getting critiqued because of those changes. And so I just want to try to still be a beacon that high school football is a special thing. And the more people we can get playing it, supporting it and all that, I want to try to do my part to be able to get that message out there. So I don't know. It's a lot, but it's enjoyable. And so I guess I really don't think about too often how much time it's taken and how much investment it's taken, but it's been good. It's been positive.
What was it like when you made the move from South Carolina to Texas, and everybody sees on social media, or they look it up online, what Texas high school football is like with stadiums and all that kind of stuff. And I've got to see it a little bit in person for many years. I ran showcases and camps and a lot of Texas and Duncanville, Lake Travis, some of the biggest programs around Texas. So I kind of seen it firsthand. But a lot of people don't really understand like what it's like. You know what I mean? Like really what it's like. And most people like in New Jersey, like we understand what like intense high school football is, but Texas and what they have available to them resource wise, not every place, but most of the bigger school systems, right? Talk a little bit about that move. What was it like for you, and talk about the things that you guys may have that maybe other places around the country don't.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest eye-opening things for me, that first year I got out here and was volunteering and stuff and still teaching down in the middle school, some of the guys that were coaching in the middle school, they were kind of asking me like, what's kind of been the biggest, because that's all they knew is, these are the schools we play and this is just kind of what your average stadium looks like. And, what were kind of some of the big eye-opening things. And for me, it wasn't even necessarily or specifically facilities and that kind of thing. It was just from like top to bottom, like just the organizational structure and investment to make sure that extracurriculars are a big part of the high school experience. So we've got obviously if you're a football coach and a teacher, part of your school day, instead of class, you are with your football team doing what you need to do to get those guys prepared, whether it's weight rooms or film or things like that, practice. But part of your working day is set up so that you can go and do that. Like go take care of what you need to take care of. You're going to have access to all your players in that class period and stuff. The facilities and stuff. Yeah, there's some pockets out there where I would say it's a lot of like South Carolina, small town South Carolina, you have small schools in Texas. But even some of the small schools out there, depending on where they're at, if they have a good enough like property tax base and things like that. Like there's some small schools out here with $30 million facilities too, and so it's like no doubt. If you were a small school back home, it just is what it is. Like you're out there playing on the dirt field out back and stuff. But I mean, even more so, they still have that organizational structure where like the coaches are allowed to have that time within their school day to do what they need to do.
It's such a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah, even facilities aside, like just that setting it up is like you said, it's a game changer. So that was probably the biggest eye-opening thing. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's just there's good football players everywhere. Like I'm not the type that wants to get into the debates about who has the best, this, that, and the best players from here, who's got the most drafted. Like there's good football players everywhere, right? There might be higher quantities in certain areas and stuff like that's kind of undeniable. But just how the public high school football scene and athletics is all set up. Like I think Texas does the best. Like if you're just looking at the average school in the state, like they're going to be set up better than maybe the average school in other states. Other schools might have some better players at these spots or the other. Georgia does it well, and they've also got really good talent that comes out of there. But if you look across the board, like I still feel like Texas does it a little better. If I go to a little small town in Georgia, it's probably not going to look anything like some of the small towns I can go to in Texas with how they set things up and run things. But it's just that level of investment. That was the biggest takeaway, and how people are willing to invest. Like we passed, it was like 4 years ago, like my school district passed $1 billion bond. And people voted for it because they're like, yeah, I mean, it's a growing town, sure, and that contributed to some of what that money was going towards. But I mean, you just go to any other suburb around a big metropolitan area, like I doubt $1 billion bonds are getting passed to make sure that what we've got is top of the line and we're doing a great experience for the kids and stuff like that. So, and people are willing to pay it and pay those property taxes, which is where a lot of that money comes from. So I don't know, just the willingness to invest was the biggest eye-opening thing for me.
And you see it, Coach, here, like in New Jersey too. Like Dave, like Absolutely, because we see those things like, look, a lot of people want to do those things and they want to invest in the school system and the ideas are all great and whatever. And then when it comes to putting it to a vote or a referendum within a town, it gets shot down because it just,
can you give to that point? Can you give, because a lot of people don't understand how they sell that process to the community. At a high level, obviously, may not be in the in or out meetings of it, obviously, but the generalities of how they sell that to a community and get the community. Now, I understand that obviously Texas sports are big and all that kind of stuff, and but talk how they sell that to the community. What goes into it? Because I think that in a lot of places around the country, that's probably the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, just
how many times, Dave, have we seen that? And we've seen it get shot down more so than it go through, right? And it's just the overall focus on it to get it passed and to do those things, right? Like, yeah, there has to be a majority that wants it and are willing to kind of pay for it, and to sway
that's why we're here, Coach. Like, what goes into that process a little bit?
I think just the culture helps a ton. Where because you have, we got 300 football players, right? Well, those guys are all going to go and have their own places to live one day, and hopefully they realized, like, hey, those 4 years I played high school football at such and such high school, like, those were, like, I got some great buddies from that, some great experiences from that, like, positivity, right? And so then when the time comes where, hey, we want to pass, we need 15 million, we're going to do some renovations to this building and all this and that, they're like, I think it's just, like, hey, this was important to me, like, it's important that we pay it forward or whatever. And I think that makes it a lot easier. I think us specifically where we're at now, where it is a big growing town, I think people realize, like, holy cow, we got so many people moving here. Like, our school size doubled in 6 years. So, I mean, people realize that, like, a good portion of this money is going to go to add additions on to schools or build new elementary schools, because they're throwing up a new neighborhood that's got 1,000 homes in it. And, like, those kids got to go to school somewhere. And the district does a good job of portraying that and educating the people on that, whether it be through media outlets or, just signage, billboards, things like that. Just like, this is necessary. The downside, if y'all don't pass this, is that now we got to find places where all these people go, and overcrowdings and things like that. People that go to the games and stuff, and they realize that, hey, the little concourse area, like, we get some pretty good crowds at our games, right? Super crowded here, right? Not enough concession stands. So then when the time comes where, hey, we need a chunk of money to be able to redo some of this, and we got 10,000 people coming to the games on Friday nights in the fall, like, y'all don't want to all be shoulder to shoulder waiting 30 minutes in line at a concession stand, like, so I think, like, people just see it and they realize that it is important. And I'm not saying that every bond gets passed. Like, I've heard of some getting shot down, depending on what parts of the state you're in and stuff, because obviously when you're near a big city like Dallas and all, and you got suburbs, and maybe you have some more middle class or middle to upper class that's willing to shell out that extra amount. Like, you might have some pockets that it's a lot different socioeconomic wise. And so they might have to send it back to the drawing board, and, hey, it got voted down because they specifically didn't want to spend the money on this portion. So they retool it,
right?
Maybe cut that part out, put it up to a vote again, and then it gets passed. I saw a school's they have a stadium that's dang near 100 years old, and we've been there a couple of times now, and it didn't look like it had been touched in 100 years. And I think they just passed a $40 million renovation project to get it all redone, and because it finally just, hey guys, it's time. Like, we've got to get this taken care of. I'm tired of going and peeing in a bathtub in the bathrooms, like, beside 20 other dudes. Like, it's kind of nice to have a renovated bathroom with a partition and all that kind of stuff. Like, so sometimes it becomes so apparent that people are going to vote for it. Sometimes it's just necessary because of growth an area might be going through. When we passed the $1 billion one, a lot of the big portion of that was having some money set aside if we had to build a third high school somewhere down the road. We were building a big career and technology center and a place where we can host our graduations and stuff, because we're paying
however much money to go and rent out the Rangers ballpark to do our graduations in. And so people kind of realize like, yeah, it would be kind of nice if I could just drive 10 minutes to go see our graduation ceremonies instead of 30 minutes to the Rangers ballpark and fight that traffic and stuff. And so I think some people just like because of a great job they do of educating voters and stuff, I think they grasp that it's necessary and it's going to be money well spent. It's not like somebody's put it in their pocket or something. Like it's going to get spent on the kids and the kids' experience. And hopefully it comes back around when those kids are homeowners in the area and stuff like that. Hopefully they'll realize like, hey, these people invested in me from my high school experience. Maybe it's my turn to go and invest and be willing to pay this out for this next generation. So I think that's a lot of it. And just the culture in the area makes people more open to being willing to spend some money on new baseball and softball fields because maybe they realize like, hey, yeah, I remember where we played. That place was a crap hole. Like, let's get some. I'm going to the games. I might as well go and enjoy my experience. And they're building a lot of new houses and stuff out here, so it does make the burden a little less than maybe what some people think. Like other areas where the population's stagnant, sure, you might feel the pinch a little more, but when you're throwing up places and you're in a boom town or whatever, I think there was one year they passed the bond and somehow my taxes went down. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of weird how they can kind of manipulate the numbers nowadays. So anywho, I think it's just it boils down to great education and doing a great job of selling the vision of what you're trying to do and what you're trying to get this money to get passed for. So hopefully that makes sense.
No, that definitely makes sense. I have one really. So you talked about it right at the beginning.
Okay.
How the athlete part, right? Where it used to be, where, and I'm sure Derek has a bunch of questions too, but where if you're in Texas, you gotta start preparing athletes to be ready to get a spot. When you have 300 football players on your football team, obviously it's competitive, right? I mean, that's probably good scenarios. You probably could talk about it versus like your own experience in places you've coached before. But talk about what that culture is like. Because we see so much stuff on youth sports now, and it's fairly wild in like New Jersey. But we always say it must be crazy in Texas. If it's wild in New Jersey, it must be a whole different level in Texas. So talk a little bit about that.
I think you definitely see it in the sports that cut. Like it definitely stands out more. Football we don't cut, right? So if you're willing to go out there and show and be tentative and you don't act a fool in the schoolhouse and you're not cutting practice and stuff like that, like you'll always have a spot on the team at whatever level, like if it's JV2, freshman 1, whatever it might be, but you'll have a spot in the program, right? If you're willing to just show up and put the work in. But like my years doing basketball, it really became apparent like, oh, there's levels to this. Like, if you've got some basketball guys that maybe aren't necessarily doing as much of the select tournaments and things like that, and they're not working on those ball skills and things like that, then you're really behind when you go and run across a school that their entire basketball program is nothing but guys that do that. And it's just very apparent. So then, and then we're, some of the sports we have, like our softball and girls soccer teams are always like state champion caliber programs. And so like, once you kind of get that train rolling from the youth levels on down, people understand, like, if you have any snowball's chance in hell of making the high school softball team, like you've got to be playing nonstop, fashioning your skill set in order to have the best chance possible just to make the cut. And it's sometimes it boils down to just numbers, right? Like Allen High School, they got 6,000 students, 5,000, whatever the number is. So in just one class, I think their senior class was like 1,700 people that they graduated this past week. Well, you only need 5 on the basketball court, right, at a time.
Yep.
So if you want to stand out and you want to make the cut, like you've got to leave no stone unturned from when you're a younger person with just the investment that you make. And one of the guys I coached basketball with, one of my best buds, he understood that, and he was a big-time basketball guy. And so his 2 sons, like from the time I first met them when they were in like 2nd, 3rd grade, like they're doing 30 minutes of ball handling drills every single day. They're shooting 100 shots from every spot every single day. They're on the gun and just getting those shots up just so that one of them finally got to high school and was able to make the varsity team late in his freshman year at a good basketball program. But you just think about all the time it took just to have that opportunity to be able to go and do that. I don't know. It's just kind of is what it is. It gets ingrained, and it's a far cry from what I grew up with, right? If I was in high school and I just had a wild hair to go play soccer one year, I probably could have made the team.
You could do it.
Not because I'm a great
No
soccer
doubt.
player, but just because of just the numbers and just the competition level and stuff like that. Like I probably could have done it had I had that desire, which I don't like to run, so soccer wouldn't have been my thing anyway. But here, like if you're not here like that, you can't just get the wild hair and go unless it's a brand. Like we're starting wrestling. We'll have our first wrestling team this coming year, and so
which is unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy to hear that, right, Dave? Because like wrestling here in the Northeast, right, is such a big thing, and with the athletes in Texas, like my mind just like automatically like, damn, watch how good these guys are, right? Gives them another avenue to go and do something, right? So the fact that a school of your size doesn't even have it, right? And then I would look in the spring, it would be like lacrosse, right? Like that's big here. Whereas in Texas, I don't know how big or if it's even around, you know what I mean? Like to see some of those sports that you're like, dude, they could be good at anything, right?
Yeah.
Like they just have to have the opportunity to, which is so cool.
Yeah, it's it'll be interesting. It'll be a great chance for a lot of people to get their foot in the door, and then hopefully they can get a good program rolling once they get. They'll have a wrestling period, right? So they'll have time in their school day where they get to practice with us. So it might be Johnny that's never wrestled in his life. I mean, wrestling was big in South Carolina, so like when I came here, it was eye opening for me, and it's big in Oklahoma. So I just assumed it was going to be big in Texas too. But like maybe a handful of schools have it. It is growing, but yeah, I mean, there's some good chances for maybe some guys for them to find that as their calling. But like if you're somewhere that's established and you're somewhere that's an established winner, then it just kind of becomes apparent that hey, we're gonna have to start investing early. One of my kids, she loves volleyball and basketball, and we're kind of starting to hit that age where it's like, all right, like if we're gonna be serious about her. Like if she really likes to do this and she wants to make sure that she has a chance to make the teams in middle school, even like we're gonna have to figure out how to make this work to where she can get the extra reps she needs in, just to be able to help her make that dream come true if that's something she chooses to do. But I don't know, just once you get it rolling and you become a perennial like playoff or state champion caliber team, like it kind of just people notice and people realize like they've got to go and start young. And it's kind of contrary to what I think. I think kids should be able to play whatever, but then when you see the reality of the situation that like, no, I mean, you got to have a certain skill level to even make the cuts in a cut sport. It just kind of becomes apparent that this is what you got to do in order to have the chance of doing that. So they can get a little silly. I mean, the spring 7-on-7s and stuff, I'm not a huge fan and all that, just because football I think is one of those last sports where if you're athletic enough, strong enough, and you're kind of crazy enough to be willing to lay your body out there, I think you can still kind of coach somebody up to be able to play football. And then we don't cut, so obviously you don't have that pressure to finding reasons not to keep somebody on the team and stuff. So football is probably one of the last few spots where I can just be working on my kid with agility and maybe catching and stuff like that, and they'll still be all right when the time comes. But yeah, those other sports, it's a whole different animal. So
no doubt about it. It's incredible how the competitiveness of it all has changed. Like I used to be I grew up this way, that like you're better off in a position where if you're a good athlete that you're going to always have opportunities for success. I was big on that. I wasn't big on playing up and any of that kind of stuff. But as I see it now in the way the world is, like I think you probably need to have a mix of both, right? You need to have opportunities where you're the best so you can gain your confidence, right? But then you might also need like some pre-design so they understand that you're playing against some older kids here or a year older, or just so they understand that they got to continue to work their skills, right? So, which I really was 100% really against many years, like really, especially at the beginning of my coaching career, I was very against it. But I think that like if you're a good athlete, there's times where you get caught in um, and, in your local area where you're like, okay, I'm better than everybody, stagnate your progress. I mean, training takes care of a good amount of that, but sometimes you need to like provide another stimuli, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting. I'm curious with athlete development in what you guys have really like structured, because me and Derek have talked about this a million times. I bring it up a lot, probably to Derek's nauseum, but you see these track times that the Texas kids are running. I mean,
it's stupid.
It's stupid, right?
It's stupid.
I mean, it's just like the top guys in the 100-meter dash. Like you don't need to have a national. You don't need to have a national race by Nike or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like that is a national race right there. Like just throw a couple of Florida and California, maybe a Georgia kid in there, and now you're good to go. Like and there's but I want to know maybe I know the answer, but I would love to hear it from you. Like, what are some of the things that you feel that you guys are doing in training and development that is enabling athletes to really reach maximums that are really, I mean, they're mind blowing, really. I mean, they're really mind blowing. I mean, seeing, like, you got to run under 10-1 to medal in the 100-meter dash.
To just even get on the podium.
I mean, it's just mind blowing to me. Like I always want to just tell kids from New Jersey, like, just unless you're going all in, man, like you ain't, just the era of Carl Lewis coming out of New Jersey, a natural raw ability. That's not happening anymore. Talk a little bit about that development process.
I think, I mean, it just boils down to what we've got in place to be able to let those kids have the time every single day that we're in school. We've got a track period, right? We've got a portion of our day where, the track coaches are able to get out there with the runners and, the people that do multiple sports plus track. Obviously, our football guys, we try to make sure our weightlifting setup and our training setup it's good for just the general athletic purpose. It's not like we're out there doing, this insane football lifting program that's we stole from a college or whatever, where it's 5 sets of 2 at whatever. Like we're trying to build just better athletes in general, because then when they go and do different sports, they're not such a meathead from the football lifts that now they can't run if they do want to go and do track, or if they do want to go and do another sport. So, I mean, it just boils back to that investment. And then in certain locations that has good infrastructure, and obviously you got talent pools depending on where you're at in the state, where you might be more inclined to have some faster guys come through. But you've got guys that maybe they were, we've got 2 former NFL players on our coaching staff, and they're teaching and coaching high school football just like I am. And I'm Joe Schmo from South Carolina but the same reason I got out, they realized that if you're going to do it at the highest level, you do it in Texas, and then you do it at maybe certain locations in Texas, certain areas in Texas where you're going to have the infrastructure set up. But they could have gone and done whatever they wanted to do post football career, post NFL career, or whatever. But they wanted to go and get into coaching, and they wanted to do it at the highest level. So then you have just that type of experience and wisdom coming back into the fold, coaching up the next generation. And so you get that part of it too. The coaching, I feel like, is really strong. I mean, I think this cycle, more than any I've seen in the last few years, with the amount of Texas high school coaches jumping to college and hitting the ground running. The guy that was the head coach at South Lake Carroll, he goes and he's the tight ends coach at SMU now. A guy that was the head coach here, he's coaching at UNT now. Position coaches that were high school coaches just like me, they go and get player personnel jobs at Rice and all these different universities and stuff. And then, there's some guys that there's a coach out here that was at Ole Miss for a little bit, and then he came back to be a head coach at one of the high schools and stuff. So you get people want to get to this area because it's still, it's getting a little squirrely just because the whole world's getting squirrely with transfer portals and stuff, but it still feels like you're running a program that, you're funded well, you're invested in well, and you're going to be able to go and do it and see your vision through. And people are going to allow you to have that chance to run a program basically like a college, but at the high school level.
Yes.
So I feel like that just level of investment is what continues to, we call it trackflation. Every year these track times come out from the state meets and stuff, and it's just like, good God, like, how much faster are these kids going to get? But I think it just boils back to what I talked about with the investment, the structure wise, but then the investment from a coaching perspective of who's in this state that's doing a great job of shaping their athletes and getting the most out of their athletes. And I think that's where a lot of it boils back to. And then the kids, they want to compete, right? So Johnny, that's in 6th grade, and he's the fastest kid at his middle school. Well, he's on the same Instagram pages that we're on, seeing the track times from the state meet and that this kid won and he ran this. And so I better make sure I'm running my tail off and doing sprint exercises and stuff to try to maximize what I can get out. And obviously DNA takes over at a certain point to really get the stupid numbers, but
helps a little bit.
When you've got more people just willing to invest at stuff, like throughout the summer, I'll go out there. We're doing our football summer strength and conditioning. I'll poke my head out, and we've got a handful of kids out there that are elementary to middle school, and they're just doing nothing but shot put throwing because they know that, like, I've got to start now getting my technique down so that when I'm in middle school track or whatever, like, I'm going to be able to hold my own and stuff. And so, I don't know, people just put a priority on it, and they go out there and they take their time and they pour their heart and soul in it. We'll have people out there doing track workouts and stuff in the middle of the summer, 120-degree heat. I'm like, you can't pay me enough money to do that. But people are out there doing it. So people are just willing to, it boils back to culture. People are just willing to put that time in and sharpening their skill set and put themselves in the best position possible years from now, maybe when they're competing at the high school level. So.
No doubt. It's crazy. It really is.
It really is.
It's unbelievable.
It really is.
It's exciting too, right? Because you feel like, I mean, I couldn't believe it was in Texas, the 100-meter champ, I believe, was a football player in the big schools. 200-meter champ was a football player, and then the smaller school kid who ran 10:02 or whatever, I think he was also a football player. They were all football players.
A lot of, I mean, I think some of, and I've never done track out here, so this is just I've helped out at track meets and stuff.
Right.
But my observations are, especially as interconnected as the world is now with social media and stuff, these kids know each other. Like, they might go to
absolutely.
We might be going to a school 45 minutes away, but our kids know that
they know every kid.
Their top recruit is this guy. He's got this many offers. He can bench whatever. They know all this stuff. And I'm just like, how do y'all? We do scouting reports, but like these kids, half the time we'll go find like one of our managers. We had this manager a few years back that we called him our intern, our scouting department intern. And so he would get us a bunch of just intel on some of these kids and stuff for our scouting reports that we would show at our meetings on Monday mornings with the kids. And we're just sitting there, look, this kid will give us some, his girlfriend goes here. He ran this 40-yard dash at this combine last summer. He did this, that, and the other. This school's wanting him to go play corner. This school's going to let him play safety. This school can let him play receiver. And we're sitting there like, how did you figure out? He's like, I ask around. I scour their social media pages. Like, but anyway, kids,
because it's all out there.
It is all out there. And so these kids know each other. And so they see that, I'm a football guy. I'm the best running back we got. Maybe I've got some college attention and stuff like that. But this guy who's maybe got a little more college attention than me, well, he also runs in the same track event that I do. Like, I'm going to go and do what it takes to make sure I'm the top dog at this event so that I can have, right. It's kind of that comparison nature and that competitive nature. For those guys that are especially at that higher level athleticism wise, where they might be going to college afterwards. But so I think that fuels a lot of it, is that why are all these football guys also doing track, and then how are they so fast? Well, they were probably fast to begin with. Like, there's no doubt in that. DNA goes a long way, but then they also know that maybe who the competition is in the recruiting landscape. Maybe they know that if I can go and beat this guy at this event in the track meet, maybe it helps. And especially the way NIL is now, like, a certain scholarship from a certain school could be you getting paid $500,000 a year because you're on scholarship at some Power 5 school. And so if you got some wherewithal and you're sitting there saying like, well, I've got the frame, I've already gotten some college attention, but if I can get to this level and I can put out these kind of numbers and I get this level of attention, now I'm setting myself up for life. If I just, NFL aside, like I can just go and cash in NIL and, keep playing football and stuff and be all set when my college year is done. So I think it just boils down to that interconnectedness and that competition, that competitive spirit of guys just wanting to go out there and get after it. And like I just talked about, the trackflation comes into play. They just keep getting faster every year. Those numbers at the state meet, it gets just stupid every single year. But it is what it is, I guess. It's cool for sure.
It's as cool as it comes. Talk about talk a little bit about what a coach's time management is like at that level, like, because with technology and all the stuff, and even back in the day, like I remember, you wouldn't know who he is, but he's long gone now. I think he's retired. But Jeff Dykes, and I used to be good friends with Jeff Dykes. I'm still good friends with him, but Jeff Dykes, who was at Duncanville before the guy who's there now, and then was at Lake Travis, and St. Michael's, and a bunch of different stops. I remember going into his office at Duncanville, and he had packets there for all the coaches, like workout from a workout standpoint, then also packets for the athletes from and then packets on programming as far as like plays and all that kind of stuff. And it was so interesting because it was so intricate, each phase of everything, from the workouts to the football part of it, and so detailed. Can you talk a little bit about what that's like for you as a coach, and what that day is like? Because to me, I mean, you talked a little bit about it earlier, but a lot of it mirrors college. But you also have some level of school duties too, right? So yeah. It's all of that, plus you have some school duties, right? Teaching and stuff like that. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's I mean, it was an eye-opening thing when I got here, and the coach that I volunteered for my first year out here, he was the offensive coordinator for oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank now. He's the head coach at Texas Tech now. Oh my gosh.
Oh, Joe McGuire?
Yes, Joe McGuire. Sorry.
Yeah.
He was Coach McGuire's OC, and so obviously when they were at Cedar Hill High School, they had a ton of success, and then it trickled.
Who was that? Right? Who was that, by the way? I know Joey from the years we ran events when he was at Cedar Hill. Was he at Cedar Hill with him there or no?
He was. Yeah, he was. He was Coach Aaron. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name now too. Not Mounts. That was another guy.
Did he go to Texas Tech? Or he stayed at high school. Okay, yeah.
He's still at the high school level. He was great about once somebody has success, right? Then it's kind of like people see that, oh, he did this. So whenever I get my chance, I'm going to make sure I have this. And the level of detail, like from day one when I got to Texas and I got a packet with, hey, here's our calendar for the next 365 days. Like here's the weeks that we're doing weights. Here's the weeks that we're doing this. Here's the weeks that we're doing this. Like, and he always called it the wives calendar because for the next year now, if your wife asks about a certain day and all that, like, hey, we already know that we're doing this. Yeah. And so that was a big, I thought, okay, like I can see that we're doing picture day 6 months from now on this random Monday. And so just that was a big eye-opening thing. And then even then, like we get all our programming is already mapped out for our off-season weights and stuff. Our offensive coordinator runs that for us. He does a great job, super organized guy. All of our playbooks and stuff are, every week for the offense, right? They'll get their notebook with it's got their installs this week and all that kind of stuff. Defensively, we'll have scouting reports where we go through the starters that are on the other offense, and we go through kind of what we feel like strengths and weaknesses are for each player. We go through what the installs are going to be. We'll have our install for defense that particular week. And so in season for us is 7 days a week. We kind of still do it old school a little bit. So our Monday, or let's just start with it to stop it. Sunday where we're getting ready for a game that Friday night. We come in, we have a full staff meeting. We go through the full week's itinerary. You know, where are all the 4 sub-varsity games being played? What coaches are going to each of those games? What coaches are calling the offense, defense for each of those games? Who's driving the school buses for each of those games? The time slots
that too, Coach. Not to cut you off right there, but Dave, like these guys drive the bus as well, and they're on like what do you call them? What, Coach? Yellow dogs, right? Like,
yellow dogs.
These are school buses trudging sometimes. But Coach, sometimes they're going 3.5 hours, 4 hours for a JV game on a
Tyler, man, going to Tyler's far.
Yeah.
Even the schedule, like the schedule itself of when they play games in terms of freshman games, JV game, like 2 teams, like all that, it's unbelievable. And guys here in Jersey like bitch about like what they got to do, and I'm like, buddy, like you don't even know. Like you
we got to go through all that. When you got 300 people, 16 coaches, 40 30 athletic trainers. You got your junior high staff that has to come to the Friday night game. So you've got to have all that structure laid out, right? And so like you talked about, if we got a really far away game, you know, we're going to get freshman 2 team out at this time of the school day. Then about an hour or so later, we'll get the freshman 1 team out at this time. They're going to load buses at here. They're going to depart here. It's just all this schedule. So we do all that first thing at our Sunday meetings, just go through the weekly itinerary. Then we branch apart into our special teams meetings for another chunk of time, just talking about what we might do a little different on special teams that week. And then we get into our offense, defense, game planning meetings where we bring our ideas to the table, our observations to the table. What do we do? What did we do well last week? Or what do we think our best, if it's the opening game, like what do we think is going to be our thing we can hang our hat on, you know? And then as the season goes, you kind of learn what you can and can't do and all that. But we knock all that out on Sunday. So a typical Sunday, I would arrive at, because, you know, I like to have church. That's a sacred time to me, is church in the morning. I'm going to eat lunch with my family. I'm going to get to the office at, 12:45. We got the meeting at 1. But then I'm not going to leave Sunday till the work is done, right? Till whatever my delegated duties are that Sunday are knocked out, or we got the game plan all put together. And then you turn around between then. So we'll make sure we got our practice plans all mapped out and stuff to get us rolling for the week. And with our new head coach, I say new, it's been about 5 years now. We switched it back to varsity guys in the afternoon, freshmen in the mornings and stuff. So you want to make sure all that stuff's taken care of. Practice cards, scout cards, all that kind of stuff's taken care of before you leave there Sunday, so that it's ready to roll for Monday. Because once Monday starts, we got locker rooms opening up at 6:15. Stretch with the freshmen starts at 7. The varsity guys might be lifting at 7. They got film meetings at 7:45. All that. So all the guys go their different ways. And you get through the Monday. Monday and Tuesdays are really long practices for us with the varsity guys. We get the bulk of our install done between Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday's kind of more of a Wednesdays, because with church and stuff, you don't want to carry it too long. So we go shells on Wednesday, and it's kind of a more abbreviated practice. We'll cut a little bit more out on the Wednesdays. Get that knocked out. Then we go have Wednesday nights with our families. It's kind of like date night. It's kind of what we call it around here. So a lot of folks get done a little earlier on Wednesdays. Thursdays, obviously, are game days for the sub-varsities, walkthroughs with the varsity guys. Really, because so many of us are gone for the sub-varsity games, really the coordinators and the head coach are the only ones that stay back with the varsity walkthroughs. So those 3 run that. And then obviously Friday nights, all hands on deck. Friday mornings, we'll lift our sub-varsities and stuff in the mornings because Friday afternoons, we might be on the road with the varsity having to get stuff ready. And the equipment truck might have to leave halfway through the day on Friday, or, whatever. All that stuff just gets mapped out. Play the game Friday night. And then Saturday morning, we bring the kids, or actually Saturday mornings, the coaches come up at 7. Well, we're not the type of staff where we'll stay after the game Friday night till 4 in the morning.
Nah, you go home.
Doing all this. We go home as soon as the game's done, and we get the kids out of there and get the laundry started. Come back in at 7 on Saturday mornings. Then we'll go back through all of our grading. We grade our position groups and all that stuff, so that when the kids come at 9 or 10, depending on if they need treatment or not, we've already got their position grades. We've got stats done. We've got all this, that, and the other done. Then we lift them and watch film with them on Saturday mornings with the varsity guys, because every level we're going to get 3 lifts in per week in season. So we get all that knocked out. We feed them all a big old lunch. Like I talked about, we got investment. We got a great booster club that takes care of our guys every Saturday about noon. We're sitting there in the big team room, baking pancakes, watching college football, taking that 30, 45 minutes to hang out with the guys. Then we send the players on, and now we're turning the page. We're on to the next opponent. We're breaking down our next opponent's films, whatever we got on them. And once I get all my stuff broken down on Saturday, depends on how many games we got to break down. But I head to the house, enjoy my Saturday evening with the kids, and then we turn right around and do it all again for the next opponent. So it's crazy how there's not any wiggle room. Like I've always been a scheduled guy, so I kind of thrive in it. It's when I don't have a schedule that I kind of fall off the wagon or whatever. Yeah. But during football season, I know boom, 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 I'm doing this. Depending on the day of the week, like here's when I do this, here's when I do that. Yeah, it's kind of wild logistically how, you know, all the steps it takes and just how on the same page everybody's got to be in order to make sure the ship goes. And different people do it different, right? You know, some people don't come in on Sundays, but they, you know, we had the first guy I worked for when I moved out here. We didn't do anything on Sundays. We got everything taken care of on Saturday. So Saturday after the kids would leave, we would start the scouting report on the next opponent. But what that meant was we had to do a better job in the week leading up to get our breakdowns done and all that. So you were kind of always a week ahead on the breakdown part of it, which for me, I kind of like to take it one step at a time. That's just kind of how my brain works. I don't want to be watching tape on the next week's team in lieu of not watching tape on who we're playing this Friday, right? One step at a time, you know, one page at a time. But different people do it different in order to try to make the most of their time or try to take care of, you know, try to create more time off for their coaches throughout the week. I remember when I was in South Carolina, we didn't do anything on Saturdays. Like we weren't going to bring the kids up on a Saturday to lift and stuff like that. We would do our Sunday afternoon staff meetings. So, I mean, depending on where you're at, people do it different, but you certainly have to make sure that everything's highly detailed and communicated well. We've got this big mass messaging program that we use in order to communicate with everybody involved with our football program. So every Sunday at 5:00, they know the weekly schedule is going to get sent, and that if I'm a JV2 football player, I need to be here at this time. And I'm going to be here at the Hill at this time. And I don't know. It just boils back to attention to details. So,
well, what system is that you guys use?
We use SportsU. Our school district has invented their own that I think we might be switching towards here in the future. But we do everything with SportsU. Awesome. And in the past, we've done like group me's and stuff, but I think SportsU is what we settled on here in the last 5-6 years, 7 years, something like that. But we'll see. It might change over time. Like I said, the district invented their own messaging system that correlates with our systems in the schoolhouse, and that way you don't have to add people by phone numbers. It can just be through their school accounts. And anyway, so we'll see where it goes, but we have some way of reaching everybody involved with our football program, from parents to booster club to players and all that, coaching staffs, trainers, and all that. And all that stuff gets communicated out with them too, just to make sure because if you extend it out, you got 300 people in the program. Now you might be talking about 800 people, full involvement, like that you got to get on the same page. So it's a lot, but I'm just taking my notes. And like you said, along the way, I'm keeping my little nuggets. I've got my own little drive of, you know, what I liked about when I worked here, what I liked when I worked with this person, what I liked when I worked with this person. And then I've kind of got my own ideas put together. If my kids grow up and I've got a little more spare time to take on a head job or something like that, hopefully I'm ready to roll. I'll knock on wood real quick, but yeah, that's about it. Just the level of detail and communication. It's pretty gnarly. But when you got this many people involved, there's no negotiating. You got to be this way.
Really,
and our
really,
head coach, like, it's so important. Like where we're like, and especially like, you know, for a program where I'm at, like it's not even close to the size that you guys are. But you know, my head coach, I think, does a great job. You know, almost overly communicating, right? Like he's really on the premise of, look, I would rather give more information and people be upset that I'm sending too many messages or too many emails, right?
Yes.
Than have people wondering what's going on. Because when you leave that space of non-communication, right, like that's where the issues lie, where people start thinking this, or they assume this, or they do that, right? Like that's where the problems are. So he does a really great job. And look, we have an app that we use to overly communicate communicate on almost on purpose, just kind of to get that message across so that everybody's on the same page. I mean, he's got the calendar already, like it's on there until the end of October, right? Like when things are happening and when this are at. And if there's the slightest change, like you're getting a blast message, through whatever it is. And it's also one of the most important things that we kind of have to, make sure that when we're the group that's now coming into high school, right? Like those 8th graders and their parents or whoever is taking care of them, right? Like they get on the app and they get their emails out there, right? Because we want them getting those messages as soon as possible so that now they're on the same page. And you kind of just continue that cycle of, hey, this is how we communicate. These are the standards. These are the expectations. I think that stuff's so pivotal. And like you say, you got your, I call it a head coaching binder of we're going to do this. This is important. This is what I've seen. This did not work, right? Like I will never do this, or I would like to do this, or, that stuff's important too, because look, just for example, your brother, right? Like here he is, he's getting ready to go into spring ball in South Carolina. And all of a sudden he gets offered the DC position. Had he not been somewhat prepared to take that on or have something like, okay, like I could do this, right? Like that wouldn't happen. And he'd kind of just still be, the D-line guy in a position where now he has the opportunity to go and be a DC, and because he's prepared and has kind of kept that stuff together, he's ready to go. So that stuff's extremely important for guys that are watching, and whatever is, never be too bigger than a job, right? Like just do whatever it is, whether it's the laundry or whether it's, driving the bus, like those things all add up to make yourself more marketable. And you kind of touched on that earlier, right? Like that's how you grow within this field, is doing a job that most people probably don't want to do, right? And do it at a really high level. And then the opportunities present themselves. So it's really awesome to hear. It's so cool.
Yeah, no doubt. He's definitely, obviously, I got the kids that slow me down a little bit, but if anybody was going to get just handed a coordinator position with 48 hours to get ready before the first practice, like he was probably one of the better ones that could have that, because I know he's got his hard drives and all that, and he sent me his notebook and stuff that he had ready after he locked himself in the room for 2 days. He showed me his full get up, and he did a top-notch job. So, I'm excited to see what he can do out there, and there might be some things I'm stealing from him. Even though I've been in the business a little longer, but I mean, you gotta always be a sponge. You gotta be willing to listen to everybody, even if it is your little brother. There's so many different ways to get information nowadays, and just taking little nuggets with you. That's what it's all about.
Right. And I mean, look, and even to circle back to what you were talking about with kids knowing kids, right? Like this social media world, right? Like, as a, I don't know, I guess I'm the older head on the staff now, be going into year 17, like, those older coaches, when you first got into it, would come to you and be like, hey, I don't know how to work huddle, or I don't know how to do a highlight tape, or how to, right? Like now I feel like I'm that guy that's asking the guy like, hey, what about this on TikTok, or what about this on Instagram, right? Like, because they're plugged in, they understand it, they know it, whether it's, coach, why are we doing this drill? I saw this drill on YouTube, or, hey, we're playing against this guy and he's got this offer from here, but they want him to do, like, they know all of these things. So you can't bullshit them in any way, shape, or form, right? Like they see right through that messaging and whatnot. Coach, I have one question for you, because moving forward, you had a really good team this year. In terms of like individuals, right? Like you had some high level guys that are going to be playing at the highest level. And then you competed against some, because I watched your state final, or not state final, but I watched that semifinal game or quarterfinal game at the Star. And you played against a dude that was just an absolute freaking freak of nature, right? I don't think he left the field for 4 quarters. But I'm just curious. I'm curious the level of talent individually, right? And now with NIL and transfer portal and all these things, right? And you touched on it a little bit, but coming from South Carolina high school ball to Texas high school ball, what's the biggest difference in the individual player in making that move? Because obviously, I mean, look, South Carolina, I'm sure, has some high level talent, but I mean, you're seeing it literally every single week where you're seeing a P4 guy or something of that nature. I mean, you have some of them on your freaking team, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? Like, what is the biggest difference in the individual athlete from those 2 states?
Yeah, and me and my brother, we talk about this all the time. We, especially with the level that I played and coached at, like played 2A, right, coach 3A, 4A kind of level. They go to 5A back in South Carolina, but there's no doubt there's like talented players, but the state's got 4 million people total, right? Whereas there might be 4 million people living in just the Texas Triangle of Fort Worth, Dallas, Austin, like that whole kind of triangle area. And so you might see on a given year, 1, 2 guys maybe that were going, and you knew about them like weeks in advance, right? Like hey, we got 3 weeks till we got to play Jadavion Clowney at South Point or whatever, and he was the #1 guy at the time, and like he's a man amongst boys out there and stuff. But I mean, week in, week out, you're playing 3, 4, 5-star guys. I mean, it took one of the best players I ever had to coach against, playing every single snap of the game to knock us out of the playoffs this year. And obviously we had a lot of individual talent for sure. We had the running back going to Notre Dame, we had the receiver going to Texas Tech, we had the 2 Power 4 offensive linemen and all this and that. But that's just crazy how one guy can truly take over a game. And they had other individual talents too. They had a couple other D1 guys that I can name off the top of my head, but just to see that type, and not necessarily that one particular guy, Jermaine Bishop, you don't necessarily see that kind of guy every single week. But every single week when we pull up the scouting report, I can guarantee somebody on that offense is going Division I college football, like from whoever we might be playing. Like on this given week, it might be. I remember a few years ago, one of the last years we were in 5A, we're getting ready to go play a team that they had only won a couple games that year, but we're pulling up the scouting report and they've got a 5-star wide receiver going to TCU, and so it's like this is the worst team we're going to play all year, and they've still got this guy we got to worry about,
right?
Like. And the off chance that he has the night of his life, there's a chance that you just can't. Just the parity level is insane, and I think that was really apparent our first year in 6A. I talked about the difference that first year we were in 6A and we went 5-6. All right, yeah, it was a losing record or whatever. Made the playoffs. Got snuck into the playoffs with the fourth place finish in our district. But the difference between a win or a loss in 5 of those losses was a touchdown or less, or a field goal or less. And so like the difference in us having another 10-win season and us having only a 5-win season was really only 13 points added up across 5 games. And so and then to turn right around the next year and win 10, 11 games, you just kind of see that like the difference truly is this, one play here, this busted assignment here. And so that's one thing you just preach to the kids, like you're playing at, I don't know, we like to say we play in the toughest district, but I don't say that because we're out there playing like Duncanville and things like that week in, week out. We don't play any cupcakes is what we try to tell our kids. Like our district is top to bottom.
No doubt.
Take the last place team in our district and send them to another district and they'd be a playoff team. So just the wiggle room, you don't have much room for error. And so you try to handle all that stuff on the preparation on the front end so that you don't have a year where the things don't fall your way or whatever happens. And you kind of get bounced because talent-wise, that first year in 6A, we had just as much talent as we had the year before and this past year. It just came down to somebody would make a play here, somebody didn't make a play here, and those were the difference in winning and losing games. So it's kind of like they talk about the SEC being in Division I and an FBS level. They talk about, you can go play Mississippi State, but heck, Mississippi State's taking Arizona State down to the wire, who, was having a good year the year before. And just that top to bottom, like you're going to play dudes. So you can't go assuming anything. You can't assume anything's going to be a cakewalk. I don't know. It's really made you appreciate the wins more after having a year like we did that first year in 6A, because like after you get those wins, you might have taken them for granted the year before when you're making the semifinals run and all this kind of stuff. But then when you have that 1 year where you get caught with your pants down, right? Then the next year when you get to have another really successful year, you're sitting there like, I'm going to appreciate this. We had to earn this. Like, it wasn't like it was just given to us. And so we try to preach that to our kids. Like, you've literally got to go out and earn every single win that you get. And I don't know. It's crazy though. I mean, week in, week out, multiple Division I guys on every opponent you're playing, from the best team in your district to the worst team in your district. You're still going to play high caliber football players. it's been an eye-opening thing for sure.
Unbelievable stuff. Really, really great conversation. It's amazing. I think what you're doing and what you're. I mean, just I'm always fascinated by Texas football, and it goes back to the days where, and they still have it, but when I was in high school myself, I would I subscribed to Dave Campbell's Texas football.
Yeah, the Bible.
Yeah, the Bible.
The Bible.
And this was back when Dave Campbell, because that's how old I am, actually, was really actually the owner. I think it's owned by a huge company now. I can't remember if it's owned by AP or something, but yeah, it was just fascinating to me. It was also eye-opening in the recruiting process too, like the athletes that were out there, because you kind of thought of this is before obviously social media. There was no such thing, and you just kind of knew people in your area or in the state, or if you went and got recruited and went to different colleges. But it was so eye-opening to see the player. It was like the first time I ever. First of all, I didn't know that back then, like obviously even back then, Texas played so many games, and they played and it's college rules as far as all that kind of stuff. So I didn't know any of that, but it was just so eye-opening. And I would see the gaudy numbers even back then, like some of these guys, and like you think you ran for a lot of yards rushing, and the guy that ran for like 2,500 yards in high school or 3,000 yards in high school. I'd be like, man, I got to get working even harder, So I mean, that's how I looked at it. But it was so interesting, and New Jersey was pretty good with newspapers back then. Now it's terrible, because everything's online. But man, that Bible was just every single school was broken down, still is.
Yeah,
and it's just mind blowing. It's unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's 1,500 high schools they feature in their magazine every single year. So I mean, it is crazy. I got a little collection from when I moved out here, and I saw that for the first time. That holy cow, they got like their own magazine that's just about this, and they go to this level of detail to feature guys and all that. It's an undertaking for sure. And so I got a little collection started. I'm just going to keep one from every year that I'm coaching out here as a little memento. So it's an eye-opening thing. But like I said, it's a part of the culture. It's in the fabric of, every year in July, you're going to go out to the grocery store and you're going to be able to pick up your Dave Campbell's. And when I go down to the big convention, the coaching convention down in, usually it's in San Antonio, it's in Houston this year, but I know they're going to be set up there doing interviews with coaches, and you're just kind of walking by and, everybody's rubbing elbows and stuff, and you're networking with people and all that. It's truly a part of the fabric of the culture here, and just makes it special. And I think the good Lord really put me in a good spot to be able to enjoy this journey. And he knew that I wanted to be coaching, and I wound up getting to do it at one of the best places in America to coach. So it's a blessing. And so I'm just trying to enjoy the ride every single day. And I just appreciate that a lot of folks are tuning in to go along the journey with me. And so, just continuing to count my blessings and enjoy this process for as long as I get to do it till this thing runs its course. But it's wild. It's wild for sure.
No doubt about it. It's pretty incredible, the whole entire thing. So, but I can't thank you enough for coming on. Definitely don't want to
appreciate you, Coach.
No, it ain't no problem at all. I'm about to go wrestle around with our youth football camp, so I'm sure I'll get the kindergarten group for the longest time more than anybody. So I'm already looking forward to that. But it's another. Hey, that's another thing. Youth camps around here that the high schools put on. I mean, it ain't nothing to have 150 kindergarten through fifth graders out there at your football camp, and you're trying to get them, to just stay still and listen for a couple minutes, and then you get to run through a drill with them or whatever. So we got that going the next few days. But it's from a young age, it's a part of it, and I'm glad I get to be a part of the ride, and I appreciate you guys having me on to get to share my journey a little bit.
No doubt, Coach. Thanks so much. Have a great day, man. Really,
yes,
really
sir.
Great time having you on.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, buddy.
No problem.
Thanks, man.
Y'all
We'll
be
talk
good.
soon.
All right.
Yes,
Bye.
sir.
Boom.
It's a lot.
That was wow. That was awesome.
Dude, it's a lot. Yeah, no, dude, I've followed him for a while, just from the videos and stuff like that. And then, just seeing all the things that he does, dude. I mean, he didn't even talk about he has like a spice company with his buddy, right? Like they just run, it's called Gridiron Spice. And it's like, it's just like, it's just the stuff that he does. One, extreme, I respect him a ton for making the move from going from South Carolina to Texas to follow something and see it and follow it through, right? On top of having 4 kids within this whole thing. I mean, it's just really awesome just to see, if you just watch like any slew of those videos, to see what goes into his day. Because look, we know it, a lot of people give a lot of shit like, oh, well, he's just a teacher or he's just a coach or it's all about football. Like, buddy, he goes from morning workouts to morning class to actually teaching now astronomy, coaching this, doing that, running weight, all this stuff. Like it's just to see what actually goes into it day in and day out. It's unbelievable. And then to see obviously the success because of the structure of how it is within Texas or at that school specifically, to see those kids like reach another level or have these opportunities that other places don't. It's really incredible to see it. And the proof is there, like obviously he talked about like approving all the stuff for the school and like that. It's nice to see that that's actually happening some places, right?
No doubt about it. It's great to see it's happening. It's amazing. There's no other word than it's it's amazing. It really is amazing. There's no other way to put
You
it.
kind of just like, all right, man, like good for you. Like that's just, it's sick. It's really, really cool. And obviously, I'm working on getting his brother on too. He's getting married, so his schedule's a little crazy too. But the two of them together, like their podcast is actually Fourth and Wardlaw. It's really, really good, where they kind of bounce things back and forth from each other, from Texas and South Carolina, going back and forth with it. It's really awesome. And obviously those videos, dude, like to just see it every morning, gets a workout in himself, buddy. And then he just like hits the ground running for whatever that day is to it. And, some days I just like, it's just wild. Like here you are riding on a bus for 2 hours for a freshman and JV games at, some school. And then you're back the next morning, for school itself, and then a Friday night game, you know what I mean, in season, to watch how he works and how it all just like comes together. And then obviously anybody look up Forney High School, like they're a highly successful program, putting out a lot of kids at a high level, to run it and do it. And then you see the facilities and all that stuff that go into it, like within his videos too. And he talks about that, right? Like how, it's all just kind of continues to grow and whatever. It's really awesome. So I'm so glad we were finally able to work it out and get him on, because his perspective on things and just like, eye-opening to our viewers of like what goes on at certain places and how they do it. It's really cool.
No doubt about it. Really, really cool stuff. Amazing. Now that's a good one. What's up next?
Tomorrow we have head football coach at Medina Valley in Texas as well, Andrew Britt. He'll be on tomorrow at 10.
Yeah, that's great stuff.
Obviously, Texas is where the algorithm was going.
There's no doubt that's
and then Thursday we'll have Lindsay Snick, who's she's assistant. She's the other assistant on Montclair State girls flag, but is also the head girls flag coach at Clifton High School. And her husband is the head boys coach at Clifton High School. So she's Thursday. So it'll be awesome to talk to her about how she manages and juggles all of that. And then Friday we'll have defensive coordinator from Nichols College, Tony Brinson, who's been around for a while, and he's an interesting cat. So that should be a good one.
Very good, man. Good stuff, dude.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm gonna email you, so I don't want you to be like, what is this? I'm going to email you right now an invite for the Speed Doctor subscription. It may be a little overwhelming for you, but not. I mean, you'll know what everything is, but just because there's a lot. What is Gmail the best? You don't have to tell me what it is, but I think I have it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. Either you can send it to. Yeah, you can send it to my Gmail.
It's the Derek Dot one,
it's
right?
First name. Yeah, first name. Yep, first name dot last name. Derek.DePascal@gmail.
All right. Let's see. A lot of coaches have become members. It's actually I just started marketing it like yesterday. I gave Coach Martinez access. I'm going to give Tony Villani access, and you'll have an email that should hopefully get to you. Hopefully, you'll have access. And when I'm up to, I see a lot of his test users, which I must have been doing a ton of testing. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. With you will be 25 members already. It may be overwhelming in the sense that there's a lot there, and you probably don't know what a kilogram is, but it's incredible. So like you could go and how I do the force overlays. It has my the software I created in it, and then it does it a little bit different than when I do it on the other stuff, but it still does it. It still does it, and that really well. And then like you could frame by frame your athlete, and it'll give you an analysis, and then you could do the VBT force, like the VBT stuff. Add your video, and it'll calculate VBT forces, and you could add an athlete. You could you do a lot with it. So it's pretty cool.
And you have how many people signed up already?
Already 25. I made them all free members to start, and then I'm going to send them eventually. They're on the trial. But
right.
It'll. But I'm adding I'm giving it out to coach. Like there are people that can sign up on their own, obviously, but I'm sending it out specifically to coaches one by one. So like if you have any emails of coaches, that like the guys that we have, I could send them a thing to be able to use it. I may. How do I interact with Tony on this? I forgot if I interacted with him on Twitter or Instagram. I can't remember. I have to find that. But and then I created recruit reels, which I really just started putting it out there. But I created months ago. I just really wasn't using it. But people started just like becoming members and like buying credits for it. But basically, you go in and you can cut up your video so it's precisely how long you want it to be. So like a clip, very quickly with AI, you could just do it. So you don't have to go it's not good for big long form stuff that you're cutting up, but you have let's say you videoed a 45-second clip or a 30-second clip of you working out, but you were talking over it. You know what I'm saying? So you can cut it. Right. You can AI cut it really quick. Boom, boom, boom. Cut it. Done. So, and then you can put some of the measurements on there as well. I put the software in that, so you could do it. The software works a little bit differently with each platform, but it works pretty good. I've got it pretty good there. You could do some interesting things on that too, which is just crazy. It's wild. So, and I'm filing for patents on some of these things. So, to be able to create these little engines in here, but it's cool. It's cool stuff, and but yeah, I sent you an invite so you could go and play around, see if you can figure it out.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, I'm good.
I mean, I think there are things that could be like, I think there's things in there that most people won't need unless they really like. But like, there's a 52-week program in there too, so you can go and use the 52-week program and literally go in and just put your athlete in, track it, put the 52-week program, put your times and track everything in there. You know, and then eventually I'll tag it. I'll see if there's timing gates that are worthwhile to tag it to, and then
right, and then you gotta you can kind of go from there.
The whole objective is that you really don't have to have it. Like for people who don't have a timing gate, you know what I mean.
You could still get it done without it. It's just a bonus.
You can put the video in. You put in how long the running was, like how many yards it was, so it can calculate it for you. What your time. It'll time it for you if you want. If you're able to tell how long the yardage is, right? And it'll automatically detect the start and an end point. But you can also manually do it. Like you could go in, okay, auto detect. It'll auto detect it. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's not perfect, right? So you can tweak it, you know. And so you could say, okay, good. Now let's time it. Now let's get my MPH, right? So it's for, you know, you could eventually you'll be able to use it with a gate with the thing, but you really don't need to. Which I think the majority of people, you know, are still in that world, right? You know.
Oh yeah, that's definitely where it is. There's not many people that have timing gates.
There's not many people who have timing gates, and there's not many people who have the catapult. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if you have it, you have.
I mean, maybe at the higher levels, but there's definitely not anybody like, you know what I mean, like very few. Like you go to a high school practice here, nobody's running around with catapults. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just not what it is.
No, like I have two, and I'm telling you, it's hard for me to even utilize it, even though I would love to, right? But like, try putting that on an 11-year-old kid who's 11, okay, and get him to run around with a thing in the back of his, you know, I mean, like, he gets annoyed by everything as it is.
Yeah, right. I just saw Cooper DeJean. He was doing some stuff. He put out one of his workouts that he goes through and stuff like that. And he was doing stuff with like flying 20s and whatnot. That was pretty cool. I think I posted it yesterday. It just kind of like popped up, which is pretty cool. I think
no doubt.
You get this in the right hands of people, and I think like that'll be a game changer.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a little
or
bit
even
better.
Somebody that wants to like take it. Yeah. Like somebody that wants to take this and be like, all right, well, let's take a look at this. And now, okay, I can use it for this. You know what I mean? And like you said, you can tweak it to whatever it is or what you need.
No doubt about it. No doubt. So anyway, I'll let you go.
Awesome, brother.
Have a good day, and we'll see you tomorrow, man.
Yeah, buddy. We'll talk.
All right. Great job.
Later. See you, bud.